What is up, Amsterdam? You having fun? Let's go. So, your Uncle Rockstar here with an absolute pleasure to be together with founder and CEO of Lightning Labs, one and only Elizabeth Stark. Can we get a round of applause for Elizabeth? She is a rock star, so if you're not applauding, I'm going to be prompting you a lot. So, Elizabeth, you and me,
Thank you, Rockstar.
No, thank you.
By the way, this is our on-stage debut, and what some of you may not know is he and I are forming a punk band. Anybody that wants to join, let us know.
Yeah, find us after this talk. But earlier today, we were talking how in order to look into the future, often you need to first look at the past. So let's start with that. What are your thoughts on the past and how we got here?
Exactly. So today in the Bitcoin world, we together as a community and as a movement have built a global, decentralized cryptocurrency that no one controls. And every single person in this room is a part of that, which is so significant. But it didn't necessarily have to be this way. And in fact, there were quite a number of times when it may not have ended up this way. And the most well-known one, and I'm actually curious, show of hands in the room, who here followed or is familiar with the Blocksize wars? Show of hands. Okay, interesting. So about maybe half. But for those that are less familiar, in the past of Bitcoin history, there was a fight for the very soul of what Bitcoin is. And one of the big questions was, how will we scale Bitcoin and will we maintain its decentralization and then, of course, its security that comes along with its decentralization in doing so, or will we move toward a more centralized approach? And there were times, and for those of us that were deeply involved in this, started maybe 2015 era through to 2017, where people were genuinely afraid that, what if Bitcoin became captured by, say, corporate interests, or companies that wanted to control it, or people that held a lot of Bitcoin and wanted to influence it and control it. And there was a lot of stress, there was a lot of drama, and I would highly recommend, if anybody has not yet read it, the book called The Blocksize Wars by my friend Jonathan Beer, who goes into the history of this very important part of Bitcoin's evolution. And yet, what happened? Well, I actually remember being at an event with many companies in the Bitcoin world and the broader crypto space. And somebody asked the question, who supported, at the time, there was a proposal, SegWit 2x, that involved a block size increase along with segregated witness, the upgrade that ended up activating. And about 90% of people in the room raised their hands because people wanted this kind of quick fix to scaling Bitcoin. Of course, once that fix came in, then how are we going to scale it further? Well, the approach that the community took was to take a layered approach and one that was far more decentralized and prioritize security. But if you're in a room and 90% of people were saying, yes, this is going to happen, some might have thought, well, that's going to be the resolution of the Blocksize wars, but lo and behold, it's not what happened. And the developer community, the enthusiasts, the community of people running Bitcoin nodes actually stood up. Interestingly, markets matter substantially. Some people may recall there were futures on this potential fork of two different versions of Bitcoin and which one would win out. And at the end of the day, it was the original Bitcoin, the Bitcoin that we have today, that gained this belief from the market. And then the broader community stood behind the principles of Bitcoin. And as a result, Bitcoin, as we have it today, won out. There was no Bitcoin hard fork to, say, a 2x, and we have taken the decentralized secure approach. In fact, Lynn Alden, brilliant researcher, friend of mine, got interested in Bitcoin because she saw that Bitcoin had these internal fights, and they were resolved. And it was resolved in a way that maintained the security and decentralization, and it gave her this confidence and this conviction in Bitcoin. So we can thank the Blocksize wars and the resolution for bringing Lynn Alden into this community as well. And the idea being that as a community, we prioritize decentralization and security over, say, corporate interests, over a number of large holders that wanted to potentially try to control the protocol. And at the end of the day, the lesson that we learned as a community is both that no one controls Bitcoin and everyone controls Bitcoin. And as a community, we collectively make up Bitcoin, and no single actor or small group of actors can change the protocol, which is why it's so valuable and secure today.
Absolutely, for that, yeah.
And by the way,
it's actually pretty trendy topic of who is Satoshi, but it doesn't matter who is Satoshi.
No one is Satoshi and everyone is Satoshi except Peter Todd and another unnamed individual, where a court in the UK proclaimed that they're not Satoshi.
No, I mean...
no, Peter's part of everyone.
And when it comes to that, you were also at the forefront of standing up for Bitcoin. That's actually how we met. You remember the days of HODLNet and early on supporting people in Bitcoin, but also us developers. When it comes to us developers, again, like, what are your thoughts for the future? How do developers add to the current ecosystem we're in, and where should they focus their efforts?
Well, when I was thinking about this idea of the future will be Bitcoinized and what is the future of Bitcoin, we are a movement, and that differentiates us from pretty much any financial system out there. No one's saying like, oh, the US dollar is a movement, or the euro is a movement, or I don't know, like, various stock exchanges are a movement. Bitcoin is a movement. People in this room traveled from all around the world to be here because they love Bitcoin. And part of what's so critical about this movement is everyone contributes to be a part of this movement by being here, by using Bitcoin, by telling people about it, by contributing, say, building projects, making videos. Collectively, we are building Bitcoin. Bitcoin has no marketing department. There's no foundation that controls it. We are a grassroots movement, and everyone is a part of this, which is unique and distinct from really anything else that's out there, even other crypto communities. And the future of Bitcoin is growing this movement, right, and bringing more people on board, especially bringing more developers on board, something that we at Lightning Labs are very passionate about and working on, particularly in onboarding new developers to Lightning. But an interesting part of this is I think a lot of these new Bitcoiners, we can call them, say, pre-coiners or new coiners, they might be onboarded because of a need they have at first, right? They might need to send a cross-border payment. They might be living in an authoritarian regime with hyperinflation or capital controls. And for them, Bitcoin is meeting a real need that they have. But as they learn more about Bitcoin, they're already a part of this movement. But the future of Bitcoin is onboarding more and more people to this movement where they see the benefit that Bitcoin provides to them, because as we know, no one controls Bitcoin, although everyone also controls it. And that is radically and fundamentally different from our existing financial infrastructure today. And I was chatting with Rockstar earlier, and I said to him, sometimes, okay, working on a startup in a company, you wake up and you're like, oh, my lawyer sent me something, or the account said something, and then you take a step back and you're like, wait, we're building an entirely new financial system from the ground up, right? Like, how cool is that? And everyone here is a part of that. And to be able to work on that day in and day out and focus on this future of making the system fairer, making it more accessible. Why should it be that the country that you're born in, well, if you're born in a country that has a stable financial, say, system or currency, you're in a much better place than if you're born in a country that has, say, hyperinflation and the government stealing from you. We want to use Bitcoin to bring financial freedom and to bring accessibility to all of those people. And it's such a privilege to be able to wake up every day and be a part of this movement and to build technology that's pushing it forward.
No, it is 100% the people that are under authoritarian regimes and in developing markets, like I once was before immigrating to US, those are the people that need Bitcoin the most. It's not the people that are loudest online and are, on X, even now on Nostr. What are your thoughts when we come to those topics, and especially how do you look at the developments when it comes to stablecoins as a vehicle to onboard these people to, the real thing, Bitcoin?
A lot of questions there, but I'll get to all of them. So sometimes people say, well, I don't need Bitcoin because, they're not necessarily Bitcoiners, because I have a credit card or because I have a bank account. And my answer is, that's fine, but there are many people in the world that don't have access to what you have access to, right? So even having a bank account for many people around the world, the cost can be incredibly high. The banks may not be trustworthy. I've heard from friends in places like Argentina or Lebanon, where banks just took away people's money. It's not like a bank is necessarily going to keep your money there. And there are numerous reasons why people, might have opted out of that system or are not in that system. And the goal with Bitcoin is to provide, and Lightning, by the way, a superior alternative, and one that is open and interoperable and global, right? Even today, I live in the US, right? From the US to Europe, it's like to send wire transfers in the US, it does not operate at nights or holidays or weekends. Like, what are we in, I don't know, like 1980? And yet, we don't have these systems that are 24/7 and global and interoperable. So with people in emerging markets, which is something that we work on with the Lightning community, with the Bitcoin community, something that I'm personally very passionate about, the goal is, well, they don't even have to be a part of the legacy financial system if they're not already onboarded, because we want to build something that is superior and something that can provide them with greater access. And it's kind of like in the old days, like landlines. Some people here might remember them. A couple of people might still have them, right? And then if you looked at emerging markets, well, people went directly to mobile phones because that was a superior technology, and you didn't have to install the wires. You could actually just use the mobile network, right? So today we have, well over 1 billion people in emerging markets with mobile phones that can access both the internet with data and then the internet of money that is Bitcoin and Lightning, and they don't have to make use of the legacy financial system that's going to charge super high fees. If you talk about the idea of a cross-border payment, to me, should be obsolete, because it's like sending a cross-border tweet or cross-border email. Like, you don't say that, right? And yet, today, you still have to pay incredibly high fees. It can be something like 5%, 10% in order to send money across borders. With Bitcoin and Lightning, and I know we have many founders here and companies that are working on this very problem and building solutions for people. We want to make this as seamless as possible, as global as possible, as low fee as possible, and as fast as possible. And we are doing so. So then, to get to your how do we onboard people, so we at Lightning Labs have been working on a protocol called Taproot Assets, building on the Taproot upgrade with Bitcoin. And shout out to my co-founder, Roast Beef, the brains behind it, who's worked tirelessly on developing this new protocol. And it's an open protocol. We've gotten great feedback from the community. We're building the first implementation of it. And the idea is to have multi-asset, both on-chain and Lightning. And the goal here is not to say have tons of meme coins on Bitcoin, and I've said this before, but meme coins are not what get me up in the morning. I care about solving real problems for real people and bringing financial access to them. But we know globally there's an incredible amount of demand for stablecoins, right? Last year in 2023 alone, there was $11 trillion in stablecoin volume. I mean, that's huge, right? Visa, by contrast, did $14 trillion in 23. 2024 projected $30 trillion of stablecoin volume, eclipsing Visa's projected volume. So this is a massive number, and there's massive demand. And I consider every stablecoin user a pre-coiner and a potential Bitcoiner. So instead of using the other protocols and other technologies that they're using out there today to send stablecoins, we want to onboard them to both Bitcoin and Lightning. And by the way, why do these people want the stablecoins? Well, For example, in a place like Turkey, there's been substantial inflation. People's life savings is going to way, way down. And for example, there was a stat recently, 4% of Turkey's GDP is in stablecoins. This is a way for people to onboard to the US dollar, which is something that they want today. You can debate whether they should want it, but they do want it. And they're able to hold these dollars in a way that is actually likely more trustworthy than, say, trying to hold dollars at a local bank and how do they access it, and then they have the seamless capability to send it over a blockchain. So what we're doing with building this protocol for assets and stablecoins and Bitcoin and Lightning is we want to onboard these users to Bitcoin because the future of Bitcoin will be the world's currencies running on top of Bitcoin. It will be getting rid of this idea of cross-border payments, because they should just be digital payments or payments altogether. And Bitcoin, with its secure decentralized blockchain, will underlie these transactions. And then for day-to-day payments, these users can use stablecoins on Lightning. And importantly and interestingly, the way that stablecoins on Lightning work is that all of the payments that users use on Lightning route through Bitcoin. So let's say I'm sending Rockstar, $1 Lightning dollar.
You mean 1 Bitcoin?
Well, no. This is a stablecoin example. And let's say, I'm going to route through 2 people over here, and it ends up at Rockstar. Well, those people can be running Bitcoin nodes, and they're actually using the Bitcoin liquidity to then transfer the ultimate Lightning dollar that you receive. And what's significant here is I believe that Bitcoin liquidity to underlie a lot of global transactions, be it fiat transactions or other assets that people are sending. And that then increases the importance of having Bitcoin liquidity, because not only are we using the security and the decentralization of Bitcoin's base layer, and you can also send these stablecoins on chain, but for speed reasons or for fee reasons, you're likely going to want to send day-to-day payments over Lightning. And now you can literally run a Lightning node, and we have node operators here at the conference, and you don't even know about the existence of these stablecoins. You're just running a Lightning node, and you're just routing Bitcoin, and now you're making fees as a node on this. And it's really quite significant that Bitcoin can then be the liquidity and this asset that will underpin these other transactions. So we know there are many, many people out there that want access to stablecoins and dollars. And as we onboard them to Bitcoin and Lightning, they're going to find out about Bitcoin. They're going to learn more. They're going to say, OK, I'm using now this Bitcoin network. What is this? And then we're going to see them, I believe, just allocate to Bitcoin, because once it's on the protocol, it'll be easy. You can do a swap between, say, a Bitcoin and a stablecoin. And those people will all then come on board as Bitcoiners. And that's part of the master plan, so to speak, to bring Bitcoin to well over 1 billion people globally. And then one other thing. So just this past summer, at Lightning Labs, we shipped the first ever multi-asset Lightning protocol with Taproot assets. And one really cool thing is now we've had the first ever stablecoins bridged into Lightning. So these are bridged from other chains right now. We've got 2 of them. Bridge Tether on Lightning. So today, you can use these early versions to send and receive stablecoins on Lightning, and then stay tuned for more around native issuance of stablecoins on Bitcoin and Lightning.
Yeah, so much for my try to get 1 Bitcoin instead of 1 Lightning dollar from you. Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, it is possible as well with the protocol for me to send dollars and Rockstar to receive Bitcoin, and that's super cool.
Well, everyone here would probably prefer euros, but we won't get into that. One thing that I do want to get into is getting to occasionally work together with you, Elizabeth. I love the philosophy with which you approach work, which is, you don't create a solution in search of a problem. You always start from the problem first. And you being the one that what is now even 9 years ago, saw the potential of Lightning, and that there is a problem, there is a solution. I'm curious, in your view, what are the problems today that are pressing, and what are the solutions? In which direction should we go forward?
Yeah, I mean, my team at Lightning Labs is probably sick of me saying this, but they also appreciate it because I always ask who needs this and why, right? And I think there are many other things that people are building in the broader crypto world where it's a solution in search of a problem, and I deeply believe that as the Bitcoin community, we need to be, and we are largely focused on solving real problems for real people, and maybe some bots soon too. But that is really important and significant as a part of our community, given that Bitcoin is the most secure cryptocurrency, it has the most liquidity, it has the most hash power backing it up, it's the most decentralized, and we have the most users and brand recognition as well in terms of people being familiar. They've all heard about Bitcoin. One of the things that we need to do in the Lightning community, and we have many community members in the room, is continually improve the user experience. We cannot expect end users to be protocol experts or super technical, and we need to build for their needs. So for example, I've been involved with the Human Rights Foundation, have a lot of great friends there, and we recently had a woman named Anna come talk to the Lightning Labs team about what human rights defenders need and what their experience has been with using Bitcoin and Lightning, and how we can better help onboard human rights defenders to Bitcoin and Lightning. And by the way, for those that may be less familiar, financial freedom is such a critical aspect of fighting for human rights because, well, how do authoritarian regimes crack down on activists and people fighting for democracy? They shut down your bank account, right? They might even try to enter your home, as happened, unfortunately, with a number of activists, and take your cash. And Bitcoin is a critical part, particularly because no one controls it and its decentralized nature, to enabling activists in these regimes, and also those that are living outside of them, communicating with people in these regimes, to fight for freedom. And thinking about things that get me up in the morning, just hearing about, by the way, I'm also a night person. I don't love getting up in the morning, but hearing about these stories of how Bitcoin and Lightning are solving problems for people that are living in these regimes, that are fighting for freedom, that is what this is all about, right? Like, people talk about number go up, and yes, like, it is great if the Bitcoin price goes up, but I'm passionate about onboarding people, bringing freedom to the world, and getting the number of people to go up, because Bitcoin will be stronger and way better with more and more people using it and the freedom that it brings to the future of the world.
I'm getting so many messages that I needed to take it out, silence it with the way
this is what happens when you're a rock star,
Well, two of us, Elizabeth. And out of the messages and questions that I'm getting, the main question is Nostr. What are your thoughts on Nostr, and especially how Lightning has really super Nostr with Zaps? Like, what are your thoughts?
So I have always been passionate about decentralized protocols. In fact, the thing that actually got me interested in Bitcoin early on was not the financial aspect. I actually never thought I would be working at the intersection of the financial world because I loved the internet and technology. And I was like, no, like, I don't want to be in finance. I want to build technology. Well, here I am. I am building technology, but it does interface with the financial world. And I actually do think it is really beneficial to be coming from the outside because you can rethink a system. And that's the same thing with Nostr, right? Because members of actually the Lightning community came to the social media side of things and then were able to rethink, okay, how could we build this differently, right? And what we see with centralized systems is, well, any point of centralization is a single point of failure, right? And I'm sure people heard about what happened with Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days, in, for example, Brazil, right? Where a judge pretty much single-handedly was able to then block access to this platform. And that was a single point of failure. We had a lot of users, I believe, onboarded to Nostr as well through that. But what that shows is when you're reliant on central entities, and this is a lesson as Bitcoiners that I believe we know very well, with great power comes great control. And it's almost like people can't even help to control it once they have that power. So the answer is to remove the power and not even make it possible in the first place. And that's where I see Nostr coming in here. Because one of the really important things, and something I really love about the protocol is, for example, let's say you have your account on Twitter, and then you want to move over to Nostr, and you have all these followers on Twitter. Well, sure, you could theoretically send a tweet, although maybe it would be like shadow ban or something. But another point of central control, but you cannot bring your identity with you, and you can't bring your followers with you because it was not built as an open, interoperable protocol. So with Nostr, as folks that are on there may know, you can then move from different client to client and bring your followers with you. Bring your prior posts with you. Bring your identity with you. And this concept of portable identity is so critical when it comes to the open, interoperable internet that I really believe in. I believe in the future will continue to take hold. Now, of course, one very cool thing about Nostr is the fact that you have the zaps, the built-in Lightning payments. But I will note, for example, the Apple App Store did try to shut down a certain number of, or certain features involving Lightning payments and zaps because it threatened their centralized model and their 30% take rate. So really, but of course, anybody on other clients could send them, and there were certain workarounds and so on. But what we're fighting for in this community is a more open and more decentralized future. And what Bitcoin is to the financial world, Nostr is to the world of, say, communities and social media, and really onboarding people to the communication layer. And they go hand in hand to building this brighter future.
Yeah, and for me, Nostr is really about identity. And that's what I love, the fact that you don't need to be, first name, last name, submit your...
You can be a rock star.
Yeah, you can be a rock star. And anyone that's not on Nostr, I would encourage you to create identity on Nostr and explore, your interest. But more importantly, and we're getting to the good parts. We only have 4 minutes left. But to me, it's like you don't need to be human in order to open an account on Nostr. The same way that you can be a bot and use Bitcoin, use financial system. Like, what do you see in the future when it comes to that? Like, will we have bots using Lightning as their
exactly
currency? Yeah.
Yeah. So the future of Bitcoin involves onboarding many more people to Bitcoin, but it also involves onboarding non-humans to Bitcoin. And Michael Levine from our team at Lightning Labs gave a great talk yesterday on the intersection of Lightning and AI, where the bots pay you. And we've seen this explosion of people building LLMs in AI. It's become this super hyped area. And interestingly, today there's a lot of, say, venture capital money flowing into this space, and people are a little bit less focused on monetization, but that party's not going to last forever. And in terms of integrating payments, well, okay, some humans can get bank accounts, not even all. But no bank is going to give a bank account to an AI agent or a bot, right? But lo and behold, they can use Bitcoin and Lightning. So we at Lightning Labs have developed a protocol called L402, and it's actually harkening back to the initial HTTP/4 to error code created by the early developers of the World Wide Web, payment required, and the idea that you could have natively integrated payments into the internet and into the web. And a standard that's open and interoperable that doesn't rely on any, say, single government or single corporation. And the idea here is, okay, well, instead of having like a username, a password, a credit card, chargebacks, a debit card, or whatever other forms of payments in the legacy system, today with this protocol, you can authenticate on the basis of the payment itself, because it doesn't have to clear with a bank, and there aren't 5 different intermediaries in the background. And so bots can actually hold Bitcoin, AI agents. They can make payments with Bitcoin, and then the bots can pay you, you can pay the bots, and the bots can pay each other. So in the future, and there have been a number of posts about this. Arthur Hayes actually wrote a really interesting post around the future of AI and how they're going to need Bitcoin in order to transact. But Bitcoin, we're building the currency of the future and the asset of the future and the network of the future. And in the future, there are going to be all these machines that are paying machines. People used to ask, well, why does Lightning need to scale to, say, theoretically 1 million or more transactions per second? Those may not be humans. Those are likely going to be AI agents or bots and API calls and very high volume payments, maybe a lower amount. And we're building out this protocol so that bots can pay other bots. And in the future, with this emergence of new AI technologies, the monetization will be through Bitcoin.
Yeah, and the way I'm getting this, Elizabeth, is do not create kids, create AI bots that then pay you in Bitcoin over Lightning. And I say we close at that. One last round of applause for Elizabeth, please. And
Wait, Rockstar.
yes,
Sorry, I just want to close on something. I've got 30 seconds.
go for it.
The future of Bitcoin is both all of us, but one very important point is we have a network effect in Bitcoin, and that's only going to grow. And what's really significant about this is the more people that contribute and the more people that onboard to Bitcoin, the more value the network creates, both with Bitcoin and Lightning. And so the importance of network effects cannot be, I think, overstated. And with our future, we are building this network so that as more people onboard, Bitcoin only increases in its importance and its global significance. And as mentioned, the future of both the financial world and everything we're building will be open, decentralized, and interoperable. And it's not the same as the past. And I am so incredibly proud to be a part of this movement. And thank you, everyone, for contributing.
Thank you all.
Thank
Let's
you.
contribute to Bitcoin.
Welcome back to the Bitcoin Magazine News Desk. We are here about to close out Bitcoin Amsterdam 2024. I am joined to my left by Bart Mol, founder and host of Satoshi Radio podcast, the biggest podcast, Bitcoin podcast in the Netherlands, and Aaron van Werdum, editor-in-chief of Bitcoin Magazine and author of the Genesis book. Thank you both for joining us. Bart, we just heard Elizabeth Stark talking about Bitcoin being this global movement that we're all a part of, but I want to hone in a little bit closer to where we are here in Amsterdam. You host the biggest Bitcoin podcast in the Netherlands. What's unique about the Dutch Bitcoin community?
I think what's unique is the hands-on approach. So when we see something, we want to try it. So one thing that we did when the Lightning Network a couple of years back was really starting out, we in our community, we reached 1,000 Lightning nodes in the Netherlands. We are the country with the most Lightning nodes per capita, for instance. And what we did now is with the open source mining movement, we sold more than 500 BitAxes, which is basically the biggest single order of BitAxes in the world. So when the Dutch see something, they want to get in on the action, and that's what we do.
Can we confirm all of this, Aaron? Is this guy just blowing some smoke here or what?
Always.
Yeah.
Never trust Bart. No. Bart is actually kind of a leader in the the Dutch Bitcoin space. The thing you were just mentioning, is that the Ring of Fire?
Yeah. It's
Maybe you should
based on the Ring
explain
of
what
Fire.
that is, because it's kind of a fun concept.
Yeah, so back when Lightning started, we just needed to figure out, are we connecting to everyone? Are we connecting to specific nodes or hubs in the network? And the Ring of Fire was a way to just kick things off.
Okay.
So I connect to you, you connect to Aaron connects to me, and we make a ring.
I like that.
And we actually made the biggest ring with 65 people, 65 nodes in the same ring.
Appreciate that. Don't
No
mean to cut
worries.
you off. Thank you so much, Bart. We're kicking it back to the main stage. Final presentation here at Bitcoin Amsterdam. Over to the main stage.
Is your company ready for the next evolution in financial strategy? Bitcoin for Corporations is your partner in securing the future of your business. With exclusive membership benefits, our comprehensive masterclass, and a network of trusted service providers, we provide the insights and resources to help you incorporate Bitcoin into your financial strategy, ensuring stability and long-term value. Strengthen your business. Innovate with confidence. Bitcoin for Corporations, protecting your treasury and positioning you for the future.